Welcome back to another episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. We are coming to you on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure you take a minute and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and visit us on LinkedIn and stick around to the end of the podcast for an amazing tip from our guest that is sure to kick your business into high gear. Our goal for each and every one of these episodes, as we always say, is to educate and entertain you on all things e-commerce. Yes, again, we'll say it, we do believe that we can entertain you. My name is Ramin. I'm one of the managing partners at SKU Agency, and it's great to have everybody back here again. So let's get things started.
This is just the beginning.
Today's episode is all about omni-channel retail. What is omni-channel retail, you ask? Well, let me briefly explain that to you. Omni-channel retail describes the ways in which companies leverage multiple channels, online, in-store, social, just to name a few, to improve the customer relationship and create more effective outreach and, of course, increase sales. What a treat we have for you today. Our guest is an incredibly talented entrepreneur who owns and operates 2 physical stores, online as well as an online store, and sells through social channels as part of her omni-channel retail empire. And get this, she does all of this remotely. We have got to learn more about that. Not only is our guest a great entrepreneur, she is also the mother of 3 amazing children, 2 of which are twins. So we'll have to learn more about how she balances motherhood and entrepreneurship all at the same time. Our guest also has a passion for real estate. Check out this amazing fact. She purchased her first home at age 19, not 18, at age 19 while attending Arizona State University. She'll probably say, go Sun Devils, but we might have to disagree on that one, where she earned her degree in interior design. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please welcome my wife. Yes, you heard it correctly, my wife, our first female guest, by the way. And I'm not sure why it took her so long to come on the show, Ms. Jenny Romeyn, CEO of Cupcake Couture Inc. And they do not sell cupcakes. Welcome, Jenny.
Hey. Thank you.
It is great to have you here. So let's get this out of the way. What took you so long to say yes? I see you each and every day. I think I asked you each and every day. I think we followed up with you a dozen times, maybe. What took you so long to come on the podcast?
I don't know. Just took a lot of persuading, clearly.
All right. Well, clearly you have a lot to say. In that intro, there's a lot happening in your life, of which I know probably all of it. But we're going to pretend like we don't really know each other that well in this podcast, just so we can ask you all of these questions and help our viewers understand this world of omni-channel retailing.
Okay.
And before we get started, I always like to ask, where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from sunny Austin, Texas, in my home office, in our
Very
home,
nice.
about 100 yards probably
Yes.
away from you.
Very nice. Yes, that is. We are in the same location, so that is good. And it is sunny outside today. A little bit different than it was the other day. We got our first experience with a tornado. For those of you who live in parts of the country that do experience tornadoes, this was our first experience. Bit scary, and now we know exactly what to do should this ever happen again. But to anybody else who was affected by the tornadoes, it is not a great thing, and we totally understand what you're going through. So, well, let's get into the podcast. So before we get into the meat of the interview, I want to ask you a few introductory questions, if that's okay with you. At the top of the show, I talked about you being 19 years old and buying your first home. Tell us about that experience and what it taught you.
Well, let's see. I was renting an apartment in Arizona at the time, and I saw a development of just a couple houses. I forget. I think it was like 5 or 6 houses being built. And when I looked into it and realized how inexpensive they were, I think at the time with upgrades, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like $39,000. This was many, many, many years ago,
Wow.
and in Arizona. So price of living or cost of living a
Hmm.
little bit less. But when I did the math, I realized that the monthly mortgage payment was going to be less than what I was
Hmm.
spending on rent. So just seemed like it made sense to put that money towards a mortgage. And I eventually sold that house, rolled it into the next property, one of which I kept. I do have a house still in
Hmm.
Phoenix, and we're in the middle of a remodel on that house because we are turning that into a short term rental, aren't we?
Yes, the short-term rental
Yes.
world. Yes, the short-term rental world is hot and growing rapidly and very fascinating. I mean, obviously, I'm ingrained in the e-commerce space, but watching and learning from what you're doing and watching some of the videos that you share, I am definitely very intrigued by the opportunities that it presents to people. So, anybody out there who is young and looking to purchase their first home, do the math,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you can do the math and you see that you're actually, instead of putting that money into an apartment, you're putting it into and building equity in your home is a phenomenal thing. And do you still? I mean, tell me about the love of real estate. What is it about real estate that you love a lot?
Uh, Gosh, that's such a good question. So, I think real estate is sort of ingrained in me and ingrained in my blood. My grandparents on my mom's
Mm.
side were both in real estate development. And so I think sort of passively, I picked up on some of that. And I don't know, I love the opportunity. I love learning, learning a new market, learning a new area. And I
Mhm.
like the idea of building something. I mean, you and I are both incredibly entrepreneurial, obviously. So we both sort of have that in us that we get excited and passionate about building. And my
Right.
interior design background. So I'm like literally excited by building. so um
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That is awesome. And I think that i- you can take a lot. You can take some of the things you learn just in the short term rental and the renovation of homes. I mean, it applies to other parts of your business life as well. I'm sure the decorating, the interior design, and we'll get into your existing business with your stores. But I'm sure take that visual. You have that visual eye on both sides, right?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about this balancing act. You're a mom of three kids, two of which are twins, and we jokingly say that we had a gentleman on from Loyalty Lion, Jack Johnson, who was a triplet. So raising raising multiples.
Could
Maybe
you
not as hard as raising
imagine? Oh my
triplets.
God. Crazy.
That would be very interesting.
That would have
Very
been
interesting.
crazy.
So tell me about this balancing act of being a mother, running your omni-channel retail business, and then also, this other side where you're, getting into the real estate side of things as well. What does that look? What does your day look like? Just tell the audience out there. I think people would be fascinated by how much you have to juggle.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. So, we wake up in the morning, sun has still not risen most mornings. Get the kids ready for school, get them off to school, and then quickly jump into the day. Usually we're sitting across from each other at the kitchen table with our
Hmm.
coffee and our laptops.
Hmm.
And, I don't know, go through, check emails, sort of figure out what's on the agenda for the day, check the schedules. And I try to separate. I try to block off days for the stores for Cupcake
Hmm.
versus other days or specific times for personal. Whether it be making phone calls about whatever, I don't
Hmm.
know, bills or answering personal emails, whatever. And then I try to block off other times for sort of the real estate. So for me, it's easier rather than jumping back and forth all day long. It's easier for me to keep myself a little bit more organized if I focus on sort of one track at a time.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that happens until school pickup, get the kids. And then, usually post 3 o'clock, it's a lot of running around, sports, dance, soccer, all of that. Not
Hmm.
myself, of course. I'm not dancing or playing
That would
soccer.
that would be amazing. That would be amazing if you added that into your day too. Yeah, no, that's great, and balancing it. And I'm sure there are plenty of female, entrepreneurs out there that are balancing that world of motherhood and building their business, and really looking for those moments where they can get something done before they have to switch gears, right?
Yeah. And you and I were just talking about that. I feel like technology is amazing, and that it now allows us to work from anywhere, but it's a little bit of a curse because it allows us to work from anywhere. So, the kids will sometimes say, oh, mom, you're always on your phone. And I say, well, I am. Like, I try to only like allow myself to be, on the phone doing work stuff, right? Like kind of during general working hours. That doesn't always happen. It spills over, but they see me always on the phone. But I say, if I wasn't here on the phone with you, then I would be away at an office or away at the stores or wherever that may be. So, I think it's great because it allows us to be here and be with them physically. But I think that we're not always as present as they would probably choose for us to be. And so that for me, I think is probably the hardest balance.
They probably think you're playing video games all the time, which is
they
what
probably
they would like
wish,
to be doing.
Yeah, they wish that I was playing video games all the time because they think that I would be way cooler in their eyes if that's what I was actually doing.
That is true. So let's get in a little bit on this omni-channel retail business. You're here in Austin, Texas, and your the two locations are in California, in Northern California. Obviously, you have the online component, which is technically everywhere. But what is this like to operate the physical component, the physical side of your business from far away? How does that look?
Well, it obviously looks much different than it used to when we lived in California. So, when we first made the decision to try out Austin, that was obviously a big component, was whether or not the business could be run from afar. And I do think, one of the interesting things that happened during COVID, right, was it forced all of us to figure out how to do things remotely. So for sure, things were put in place in my business that weren't necessarily in place before. We were suddenly offering virtual shopping, and I was trying to do, Facebook Lives and, trying to do various things that wouldn't cause me to have to be physically at the stores because we're in California. We were shut down for two and a half months, I think. I don't know the exact dates. It felt like forever. It could have been 2 years that we were shut down, because that's what it felt like. But so it didn't seem like it would be necessarily that much of a stretch to try to do it from Austin as opposed to doing it from home in Sonoma County. And I think for the most part, it's going fairly well. Again, thank goodness for technology, because without it, yeah.
Well, so speaking of technology, what do you use? What are some of the technological components that you use to help you do this on a remote fashion?
So every Monday morning, I have a meeting with my managers, and via Zoom or FaceTime, whatever we're using, and they're able to take me all around the store so that I can see the stores, see what needs to be remerchandised, see what needs to be moved around. If they have questions about anything, coming from an interior design background, the merchandising is like one of my biggest passions. And so not being there to like hands-on, touch and feel and move displays around, it's been challenging on a personal sort of passion level. And also, I need them to be like my arms, right? Like I have to be able to say, I can't just reach through and move stuff. So I have to, move the pink dress, and then they grab the wrong. And I'm like, no, not that pink dress, top right pink dress, move it to the bottom left corner. And, so, it takes a little bit of that. But for the most part, they get what I'm looking for. They can, follow my verbal cues pretty well. They're able to, see my face. I think it's a lot different to talk to somebody and spend a little time, a little FaceTime, even though it's, virtual FaceTime, right? Versus always just having conversations over the phone. So I would say that the sort of video conferencing aspect would be the thing that has saved me the most. Without being able to do that, and sort of physically see my stores, I think it would be really difficult.
Gosh, maybe they need to put you on one of those moving, moving pedestals where you're, long pole. Yeah, the camera's stuck on there and you're kind of just moving around the store wherever you want to go.
Totally. With a robotic arm. Like, give me a robotic arm because I just want to reach through and,
Yeah.
Yes, that would be amazing.
I'm sure that's not too far away. I've seen renderings out there. So I have a question for you. Are you generating 30% or more of your revenue from email and SMS for your online store? If not, SKU Agency can help. As certified Klaviyo advisors, we have helped our clients generate millions in revenue from email and SMS. These two powerful channels are key to the success of your e-commerce business. To help you better understand the revenue you can expect from email and SMS, we are offering a limited time complimentary 45-point audit that will break down the opportunity for you. To get your free audit, go to SKUagency.com and click book a call to get started. Now back to the show. So tell me, as the CEO of the company, tell everybody how long have you been in business? What year is this?
Well, I don't know. What year are we in? 2022, right? So
Yeah.
17 years. 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
17 years. Take note, everybody. 17 years. That's a long time. We had Alan Desi from the Desi Group on. He's been running his business for decades. You've been running it for 17 years. This is an interesting concept because usually entrepreneurs, they sell off and they move on to another business, another idea, but you've been consistent for 17 years and continuing to grow the business every single year, which is phenomenal. So hats off to you. Great job on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we said the two stores are in Northern California. Tell us specifically where they are in Northern California.
Santa Rosa, California, which is about an hour north of San Francisco, and then Napa, California, right downtown in both cities.
Beautiful. Right in the heart of downtown. That's phenomenal. And just in case anybody's wondering about this concept, if physical retail is dead, it is not dead. I assure you, it is thriving. It is, it is an important part of an omni-channel experience, one that you have, continued to build upon. So, and speaking of that, the additional stores and additional sales channels, what about the online store? When did you launch that and what platform do you operate that on?
So it has been operated on a few different platforms, but currently, and now hopefully to stay, we are on Shopify. But we have been with BigCommerce. Who else were we with? Gosh, it's escaping me now. But
I think you had a homegrown platform a long time ago. It was custom developed. As well. Tell me just to, from the Shopify standpoint, you use Shopify, from what I understand, and obviously know, that you operate both the online store. I'm going to pretend again like I don't know some of these things, but the physical stores also run on Shopify too, right? They utilize Shopify POS, correct?
Yes. Correct. Yeah. And we've also, obviously over 17 years, we've moved from various POS systems, but yes, we are now on Shopify POS.
Right. And just for anybody out there who has maybe not experienced that and is, has a physical store and also has an online store, can you speak to how easy it is, or are there obstacles at all, if any, when you have this unified system where you can do POS and online as well? Is it speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, it has been much, much easier, which is why, we were with QuickBooks Point of Sale for years and years and years. And it was such a great point of sale that I really was hesitant to move away from it. So I needed something for online. So I had various online stores, we did tried various platforms, but the sync was just never quite there. We would try to upload and download every night to sync up inventory. But if something sold right now and walked out the door, and then an hour from now, an order came in for that same product, it hadn't been updated because it wasn't updated till after closing. So it was never ideal. So moving to one platform and one system has been, it has alleviated like 1,001 headaches. The inventory is synced not only from the retail stores to the online, but between the two retail stores. So you can make a purchase in one store, you can return in the other store, you can make a purchase online, you can go in and return, physically in either store. And the amazing thing about Shopify is that they have a bazillion apps that you can plug in, right? So anything that needed to be added, like there was a period of time towards the end of like lockdown when we were allowed to open back up, but we couldn't let customers into the store. So we were able to continue to sell online, and then customers were able to choose curbside pickup. I did not have that before, but I was able to add that. I think originally possibly I'd added that as an app, but then I think Shopify finally integrated it. But every time I come to you, right? Because you're my e-commerce consultant, my private e-commerce consultant. So every time I come to you and say, hey, I'd like to, add this functionality, or hey, we're having this challenge, or you always say there's an app for that, right? Sure. And if there's not, let me know and I'll, build it. So
we'll build it. Well, it goes both ways, right? I learn things like, we learn, what retailers need by asking you questions as well. So
right.
It's great.
Right. Yeah. So it's been great. I'm very, very happy with Shopify.
That's good. And just in full disclosure, Jenny is a client of SKU Agency. Obviously, she has direct access to us at all times, but she does a lot of the things herself as well. So within her own organization. But we always love learning from Jenny. She teaches us a lot, especially from the physical retail side, because we don't have as many clients on the physical retail side. So it's very interesting to learn more and more about that. And I also pass along Jenny's comments about POS to the POS team at Shopify as well. So it's great. So we've covered physical stores. We've covered online. Tell me about social. How do you leverage social media from a sales channel perspective?
Well, so we're on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and then most recently TikTok.
Right.
That one I was like, hey girls, to my staff, I'm like, who wants to take this on? Because I don't think I have it. I don't have it in me at the moment to take on TikTok. But so they post cute little. They're probably not even called stories on TikTok. I don't even know what they're called. They're short little shorts, clips. I don't know. Clips, right? Clips on TikTok. I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah, so social's great because it allows us easily to reach out to, all of our followers. We can pan, make a quick video panning new arrivals. And then within, minutes, we have customers asking us, what size do you have that in? Can you hold that in a certain size for me? What other colors do you have that in? How much is it? On and on. So yeah, social it's great. I think, some days I would call it a necessary evil. Because it's a lot, right? It's a lot to keep up with, but it is a quick, easy way, quick, effective, low cost way to stay in touch with our customers.
And then tell me this, just from the perspective, looking at the omni-channel experience, do you offer all the same products? Let's say everything that's in the store. Do you sell everything online as well? Do you sell everything through social when given that opportunity, or are you selective in what you put out there on those two other channels, both online and social?
So we do not have 100% of our products online, and it's not so much. Sometimes that's a conscientious decision, but often it is not. The only reason I would specifically choose to not put something online is if I know that it's going to sell out so quickly that within the store that it's, and maybe it's a limited edition something, maybe I just know that we can't reorder it. So if it's going to sell out quickly, I don't bother putting it online. Also photography is a thing, right? That takes a lot of time. So
Sure.
Probably 75% of our vendors offer product photos. And so we are quicker to put those things online first because we have the photography available to us. If we do not have photography available, if we get a chance to, we do have a mini setup at our stores to take, to take flat lay pictures and get them up. But it is very time consuming. So often it'll just sell out before we even get to that.
Wow. Yeah, that's that's a huge effort, right? To get, photography, and great that some of your vendors, supply that to you. But somebody asked me the other day, they were getting into the process of launching in the store, and they said, what part of this process is going to take me the longest? And I said, the products, getting the products up in there, and then it's going to be an ongoing thing. So you have to be ready to manage that process, create a system, right? Create, whatever that is, reaching out to your vendors and always making sure you get good photography or photographing yourself. So, hats off to you on that.
And for us, our products are seasonal, right? So they're seasonal and they're limited. It's, if we had, let's say if we had a toy store with 50 SKUs and we carried the same 50 things that we could just constantly reorder and constantly fill in on, it would be worth it to spend however much time it takes to get those 50 items on, because they would have a much longer online shelf life, right? But we don't have, a lot of our items are not that, they're seasonal. So we get in, a size run of a dress for spring. Once we sell through all those sizes, that's it. That dress is gone and it's never coming back. So, you have to sort of outweigh the time and effort, right? Where's the ROI there? Do you want to spend the time and effort getting it up if, it's just going to sell out quickly?
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have somebody dedicated just from the online and social side? Do you have somebody in one of the stores dedicated to working on on those channels? Or
Not
do you do most of
necessarily.
it?
Well, I mean, I do some of it. I have a virtual assistant who helps create all the products and then get a lot of products online. She's actually in South Africa. I use her through Upwork, so I know we'll get to that in a bit. But that's one of the other services I use a lot that I think is very helpful. And my staff rotates, right? There's some turnover in staff, and so I generally just ask the girls, who's active on TikTok and really loves it and really enjoys it. And, cause I like them to enjoy their job. Right. So, some of them are like, oh no, hate TikTok. Don't want to have anything to do with it. Well, that's definitely not the person I want, right? Working on TikTok. Right. But then I have the other one who's like, oh my gosh, I'm on TikTok all the time. And so, I'm like, great, you're it. You're on, you got it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So whoever expresses an interest and a passion for it, that's, generally who I let work on that particular area.
Nice. That's great. Let's talk about technology just a little bit more. We talked about Shopify POS being obviously a very important component. We talked about Shopify from an online standpoint. What do you use for social management? Do you use a third-party tool, or do you just log in? Do you have to, your team log into the different social channels to work on things? How does that work?
So we do use the app Later. I like Later because it enables me to, or whomever's working on it, you can schedule, I think, as much as you want. I usually try to sit down towards the beginning of the month and sort of plan out the month, get enough, photos and captions and whatnot on there for posts. For stories, we kind of just do stories sporadically and spontaneously whenever, new product comes in, or whatever the girls, we're coming up on Easter now. And so the girls are, have been posting some stories about Easter basket items and suggestions for, for Easter baskets. And we're highlighting all of our Easter outfits right now. And so some of that can be pre-planned sort of in the beginning of the month, but then a lot of the rest of it is sort of filled in spontaneously.
Nice. Okay. What about email? Again, I know the answer to this question. What about email and SMS? Do you utilize those within the business, and how have they worked for you?
Yeah, so we just moved to Klaviyo, and we have SKU Agency taking care of our Klaviyo email marketing. And it's been great. We have, flows set up. And so for those who don't know what flows are, it's a series of emails that sort of, once this happens, then this next thing happens. So for instance, we have a welcome series. So if you sign up for our newsletter for the first time, whether that be in store at checkout, the girls ask, do you want to be on our email list? If the customer says yes, they opt in there, or you can hit our website, pop-up comes up saying, do you, want to join our email list? So you'll get that first welcome email. And then a couple of days later, you'll get the second email in the flow, which will be introducing the store, introducing our brands, sort of a little about us as a company. And then I think the third email maybe talks about me a little bit. So then within that, we also then do campaigns for specific events. We do, whether we're having sales or we want to highlight new arrivals, events that we're having at the store. We have a silhouette artist actually at the store hand cutting silhouettes today and tomorrow. So we send out campaigns for that. We just tried SMS for the first time. I think it went pretty well. We had a list, quite a good size list, right, to use. But it hasn't been used in a while because these customers had all opted in with their phone numbers as part of an old rewards program that we used to have that was driven by phone number. We have since switched to a new rewards program. We use Smile now, which is also an app that can be found in the Shopify store, and therefore it's plugged into everything and integrates with Klaviyo. So it's all, we're all one big happy family. So we sent a campaign out to that group of people, giving them the option to stay within, that SMS list or opt out. And honestly, I think we had like 3 opt-outs. It was pretty good. So we haven't explored that too much more beyond that warm-up list, but I'm excited to send out campaign information via SMS going forward.
Yeah. And I'll say, it's obviously we'll call it the early days of your, email and SMS side of the, in terms of driving, sales and growing the business. But, obviously, as part of what we do, we keep track of the data, and it looks very good. And it is, it's rare that businesses come into the mix with an existing SMS list. So to have that in there, and the fact that, very few people dropped off, is phenomenal. So if anybody out there has, if you've been capturing phone numbers for various reasons, you should absolutely be looking at SMS. And you speak to the flows so well. I mean that I love that you were obviously very involved in working with us to understand what the importance of each of these flows were, and at some point adding new flows and continuing to grow it. So, and it's great. Yes, I mean you know that I sing Klaviyo's praises all the time. I think they're a phenomenal piece of software. I think, and in fact, Jason Seelin of Mad Viking, another a client of ours who did a previous podcast with us, he said that it was one of the pieces of software he can't live without. So, it is become very important to brands out there to do that. So that's great. I mean, this is part of, and you can consider email and SMS a sales channel as well, because you are technically selling. Yes, they're coming to the site to transact. So the online, the store takes the credit for the attribution, but where did it come from? We have to attribute it to the actual beginning of the journey in there. So I'm glad that you use all these things. So those are all the fun ones, right? The fun software later, and POS and all these things. Let's talk about the ones that don't get as much attention. What do you use for payroll and HR related matters? What kind of software? Back office, if you will.
So we use Deputy for the staff time clocks. They're able to walk into the store and clock in on their phones. They can clock in on our iPads at the front counter. When they take their breaks, they clock out for the break, check back in for the breaks. They can send vacation requests, and then all of those timesheets get approved on payroll day. and get transferred to Gusto, which is who we use as our payroll company. And I mean, really, with just a couple clicks of the button, I do still do the payroll. So within a couple of clicks of the button, I can process payroll and it's all direct deposited into their accounts. So that's great because, back in the day, right, I was doing physical paychecks, which would have been very complicated to do remotely. So, so that's been great. And another easy remote task to take care of.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. You've painted a phenomenal picture here of the remote, your capabilities of running the business on a remote fashion. I mean, I do know that, going to the stores, we recently went back to Santa Rosa and you had a chance to go into both stores. And the fact that you speak with your managers every week on a regular basis and really kind of drill down, it is possible, but I'm sure that physical component still has to happen from time to time. So nice job. I mean, I think anybody who has, this opportunity in their world to maybe live somewhere else and run a business that is an omni-channel business that maybe also has that physical component, you're teaching ways. You should do a blog on this or a video on this because I think this is a fascinating topic to me.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would make it better is if I was doing it from a beach with a Mai Tai in my hand. But aside from that,
yes,
Austin with a cup of coffee
dreams
in my hand. I don't know. That's yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to say the other interesting aspect to not being there physically is market, right? I go to market in LA and it had been easier. And prior to that, the LA, most of my showrooms from LA would actually come up to San Francisco and do a show in San Francisco. And so that was easy because I just hopped in the car. I usually did stay one night in a hotel, but I hopped in the car and it was close and easy, right? But even flying from San Francisco to LA, it can be a pretty quick trip. It's, it's not that much longer, but somehow it feels like a little bit more effort to hop on the plane from Austin. And so I had been able to do it, right? I think I've gone once, since we moved here, but now market just came and went and I did not go in person. This is the first time in 18 years, aside from COVID, that I did not go in person. But again, Zoom, I was able to do all the buying via Zoom. And at this point, I do think that I know my lines well enough. I know the fabrics, I know the construction, I know the design, that if I'm not touching it and seeing it in person, it's okay. I know that the quality is there. So that's not a concern for me, but I do miss going to market and physically touching it as well. And the robotic arm situation I'm having to have, when I'm usually in there in person, I buy and I hang up exactly how I want it merchandised in the store. So I know this department, I've got these 3 face outs with a bar underneath. This other department, I've got 6 face outs. So I make sure that all of the outfits coordinate. I take a picture that gets uploaded to Dropbox. And as the shipments come in, my staff can pull up the pictures in Dropbox and see exactly how I want that particular collection merchandised and displayed, and also what color things were supposed to come in. Because sometimes I'll have a blue dress in the picture and, the girls are sitting there holding a green dress and they're like, what happened here? And so that's good because, so that's good. So then they can call the vendor or the rep and say, hey, I'm pretty sure we ordered a blue dress. That's what I see in, Jenny's market pictures. But this market, since it was via Zoom and I don't have the robotic arm to reach through the camera, I was having to have my reps move everything around for me. And, they're fine. I mean, I've known them for so long. I love my reps. I've worked with them forever. Most of them came to our oldest son's baby shower when we had it in LA. I love each and every one of these women, but so they put up with me is my point to all that. But I did have to say, oh, by the way, the outfit on the far right, could you move it over 3? And they're like, oh, okay. So they're sitting there doing it all for me. And I kept saying, well, don't forget, the girls are going to merchandise it exactly how it is here. So, it's important.
Yeah, well,
It's
you're
important.
challenging them to also learn a different way of selling too.
Right.
So I think that's interesting. How many seasons do you buy for, and what season would you be buying for right now, or the one that you just missed the market? Which season is that for?
So I just bought for fall of this
Mhm.
year. So I just bought for fall, which is funny because usually when I'm buying, the season I'm buying for for the next year is usually the season we're like clearancing out in the store. So I was
Right.
like, getting rid of fall 21.
Hmm.
Spring 22 was coming in and I was on, online buying
Hmm.
fall 22. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I
Well,
mean,
maybe
it's
maybe
decently in advance.
yeah, maybe you need to convince your reps to all hop on a plane together and come to your home office in Austin and
Yes.
take over our living room and start showing you everything. And you can then do it in
Yes.
person, go
Yes.
out
For
to
whoever's
dinner, have a
watching
good
this.
time.
Yes, that's an invitation. Come on, let's go.
Yes, that is an invitation. So tell me, just when this, I think this is a very interesting process that you're learning, and I know definitely going there and being there in person in some format is important, but you're really leveraging technology in a in a phenomenal way to continue this remote operation that you have. But touching and feeling a product is probably never going to go away. Never going to go away. The other part that you really love a lot, we touched on it just a little bit, is the visual merchandising within the store. Now you have, we joke about the robotic arm, that you're going to
Right.
go and move stuff around. You're having your managers, show, bring you up on FaceTime and walk the store and move things around. When you were doing it in person, what's the technique? What were you looking for? Are you just looking for colors to go well together? Are you looking for, how do you do it? What's that process like?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. So on the face outs, so the face outs are the outfits that are facing you like flat on that you're looking at, as opposed to hanging
Hmm.
sideways on a rack where you would just be looking at the sleeve or the side of it. So
Hmm.
we merchandise the face outs as full outfits as much as possible, so that it looks. We're trying to show it the way we want your child to look wearing it. So
Sure.
if it's a dress, maybe we put a little cardigan over it, depending on the
Hmm.
season. We put a little pair of leggings, again, depending on the season. We'll put a, coordinating bow or hair clip. And then if
Hmm.
it happens to be, on we have these like mannequins that we can stand, kind of tabletop mannequins that we can hang a hanger on. So on those, we would put like a little
Hmm.
pair of shoes at the base. But it's just to paint the whole story and the whole picture so that you can get the idea of the whole outfit. And it's great
Hmm.
because a lot of times customers don't really want to think about,
Right.
they don't want to spend a lot of time. Oh, maybe I could take this and what's going to match this. And they're walking around. I mean, they want to they grab the whole outfit from the face out and they go, here, I'll take
Yeah.
this. So, um,
Brilliant. Brilliant.
so yeah, so that always works well. And then if it's I buy in what I call stories from
Hmm.
collections. So usually the designers will put together sort of coordinating outfits. They'll use
Hmm.
maybe a solid. I'll purchase something as like a solid color, and then a floral, and then another solid color that ties into that floral, and that's how I'll merchandise it. The two solids on the end with the floral in the middle. So always groups of threes. If it's three face outs over three face outs, we try to create a lot of triangles to create symmetry. That's just sort of a general
Hmm.
design theory that you want to create triangular shapes. So
Wow.
you want the
Interesting.
customer's eye to sort of move up and down as they go around the store. Um,
Hmm.
there's all sorts of theories on many books. Lots of studies have been done on sort of the psychology behind shopping, how customers
Hmm.
prefer to shop. They generally walk in and go to the right first in a store and circle around that direction. So
Hmm.
knowing all of those things helps, and they all go into our merchandising plans.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That's great advice, and a lot of testing, I assume, to kind of see what people gravitate towards. It's like your own, as if you would do what you would do online. You're doing it in a physical format, and yeah, I think at the end of the day, it makes complete sense. People don't want to, they don't want to have to think too hard. Just show me what I should get.
Right.
You're probably a little different when you go into stores. You're going in with a visual eye into if you're going to buy women's clothing, you're going in with a visual eye and probably mixing and matching on your own because you have that capability. You get that, but a lot of people they just don't want to do it. They're experts in other areas, maybe just not
Right.
in
Right.
matching colors. So I'm glad that
Right.
you do
Well,
that for
and
people.
sometimes maybe they don't have the time, or maybe they just don't
Yeah.
have the interest, or
Hmm.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I think that's helpful.
It's great. Well, so, we talked a lot about product here, and obviously product is central to, a retail business, omni-channel or not, either way, retail, you obviously have to have product. We talked about the fun side, the buying, the visual merchandising. Let's talk about the side that's maybe not so exciting, the inventory management side.
Mm.
How do you manage inventory? What tools do you use? Is it all done within Shopify? Do you use any external tools?
I do not know. It is all done within Shopify.
Mhm.
Shopify they did have an app that you could use to plug in,
Mhm.
called Stocky. They
Mhm.
acquired that platform and
Mhm.
that company, so now it is all within Shopify, which is good. So we can create all of our purchase orders through Stocky. We can do our inventory
Mhm.
counts through Stocky. We can receive
Mhm.
our purchase orders. We do all of our transfers because we do
Wow.
sometimes transfer product. If you walk into our Santa Rosa store and you want something in a size that we don't have, the first thing my staff does is they check to see if the
Hmm.
Napa store has it, and if they
Mhm.
do, then they'll stick it on a transfer so that the next week when transfers are done, it will come to the store. And then
Wow.
sometimes the craziest thing, but the same exact product will be
Mhm.
sitting in Santa Rosa. Nobody's
Mhm.
buying it. And for whatever reason, it has
Hmm.
flown out the door in Napa, and has
Wow.
completely sold out. So, we look at a lot of sales reports to compare,
Mhm.
if something's doing really well in one store and not in the other, we'll stick that on a transfer as well, and get
Wow.
it over to the other store so that we can turn it more quickly and more efficiently.
Well, that's interesting. That sounds very efficient. That process, and that's interesting. Why maybe it's sitting in one store and not moving, and then all of a sudden it blows up in your other store and it goes out there. And if you, I guess, if you had the answer, you'd know. You'd be able to do
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Replicate it. Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, my assumption is a lot of it has to do with the customer. The customer in
Hmm.
Santa Rosa is local, generally speaking. I mean, we do get some
Hmm.
tourists, but we have a very loyal, large local customer base. Napa, we have a smaller local base and a very large tourist population. So sometimes I think the
Got it.
product, isn't necessarily appealing to Santa Rosa, Northern California for whatever reason, but it's appealing to
Mhm.
Georgia, New York, Florida, Ohio, whatever,
Mhm.
Washington, So it's appealing to some other customer from some other part of the country. That's what I think most of the
Interesting.
time is the
Yeah.
situation.
No. That makes total sense. So you've been running the business for a long time. You've shared a lot of phenomenal pieces of information on how you run it, pieces of software that you use, things like that. If you were standing in front of a entrepreneurial class, and maybe it was specific to retail or an omni-channel retail, and all of these entrepreneurs were looking to you, what one tip would you give them that would help them kick their business into high gear?
Let's see. I think I think the one, if I had to choose just one, because I probably have a million. If I had to choose just one, I think I would say don't put too much pressure on yourself to reinvent the wheel.
Hmm.
So many people have done whatever it is whatever challenge you're having, whatever you're trying, whatever processes you're trying to come up with and put in place, whatever you're
Mhm.
trying to get started, somebody else, multiple somebody else's have already done it. So I
Mhm.
would say, find those resources and reach out to those people.
Mhm.
There are retailer Facebook groups. There are generally local retail groups. You can go to meetups. You can ask maybe one of your, neighbor retailers, right? Maybe
Sure.
the shop next door has maybe been owned by somebody running it for 17 years who might have some advice. You can Google it. I mean, I still Google stuff all the time, right? There's still stuff I'm trying to figure out. There are podcasts to watch. There are blogs to read. I mean, there are just so much, and I've had over the years, I've had a couple of different people reach out to me who were specifically opening children's retail stores that, they very sweetly said, hey, I know you've been doing this for a long time. I'm just getting started. Would you mind, do you have like 15 minutes for me to, ask you a couple of questions? And I'm more than happy to help. And I think a lot of times we get nervous about asking others for help because we're afraid that they're either going to say no, or that they're going to think we're bothering them, or they're going to somehow view us as competition. And so they're not going to want to help us. I think more often than not, that's actually not the case. I think that generally speaking, people are happy to help, maybe even eager to help. I know that you and I both have a very sort of mentor spirit within us, and we really enjoy mentoring others and helping others. So I would say, just reach out, introduce yourself, ask if they have a few minutes, so you're not intruding on their time. And, if given the permission, ask whatever it is you need to ask, because it can be hard starting your own business, and it can be lonely if you're not doing it with a partner, right? It can be kind of isolating and lonely. So that's what I would say. I would say, don't try to do it all yourself.
That is a phenomenal tip. I mean, mentorship is so important, not feeling like you're alone out there on the entrepreneurial island that you've created for yourself. And not to try to think you're reinventing the wheel. Somebody's done it. I think those are phenomenal. We'll call that one tip, but there's a bunch of different ones, like, sub tips in there, if you will, that people should definitely take notice. Ask, I'll think back to when, first time when I started a business, I didn't necessarily have the confidence to ask. It took me a while, thinking that, as you said, you feel like somebody may not want to talk to you, but guess what? No, they do. People like to share. We like to share. Why wouldn't somebody else? So I think that's phenomenal. So take note, all entrepreneurs out there, whether you're an omni-channel entrepreneur or any other type of entrepreneur, ask for help. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's done it before. I think that's phenomenal. Thank you for that. So we covered a lot of ground, I feel, today, but we want to jump to our rapid fire questions. If you're ready for this little fun side of it, you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Okay. So what gets you excited to wake up and tackle the day?
Well, I will say lately, since changing the clocks and we've been waking up in the dark, I haven't woken up with as much, inner fire and excitement and energy as I normally do. But I think when the sun is out, I don't know. I don't know if it's anything in particular. I think it's just the possibilities of the day and what the day is going to bring. And, passion for what I do, and just sort of a general excitement for life. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that corny?
And
I don't
will
know.
say, no. And I'll say, obviously I see you every morning.
Yes.
And that excitement rubs off. It is good, because sure, it's tough to wake up, especially, if it's dark in the morning. And we're going to have to do something about that. But yes, you need that, right? You need that momentum to get in there. So I love that. I love that answer. What is your drink of choice in the morning?
My drink of choice is coffee brought by my husband to me in bed.
Uh-oh.
That would be my drink of...
What happens if your husband wakes up late? Then what happens?
Right. I don't know. So, back in the day, pre-kids, right? This used to be, I feel like this went on for years. Like, I think you never missed a day ever. And you've been slacking. I don't know what has happened. You've been slacking.
No.
Now I get up and I make my own coffee. But so, my coffee is, it's pretty simple. I know one of your other guests referred to his coffee as bougie, and I would say,
Yes.
we possibly have a slightly bougie coffee maker in that, we just push the button and it grinds and makes the coffee, which is phenomenal. But after that, I just add a little steamed or frothed milk, and I make it. It's like 50% milk with some coffee added to it. It's basically what it is.
I love it. I love it. Listen, yes, and I apologize, but weekends I step in. But let's talk about the great dinners that I make all the time. How about the great dinners?
All right.
How about those?
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. There you go. So tell me if besides the job that you're doing, let's talk about the omni-channel side of things. If besides the job that you're doing today, what else would you be doing if you weren't doing it?
I mean, probably just getting more into, into the real estate arena. Real estate investing. I mean, I love all of it, right? I love searching for the new not products. Sorry, I'm still back in retail land. I love searching for the new. There you go. Hold on, brain switch. I love searching for new properties. I love watching various podcasts. I love. I'm hoping we can incorporate more traveling into our not so distant future while searching for new properties. And then once we acquire the properties, I love the remodel aspect. And I am on, what am I on? I'm on at least my second completely hands-off virtual remodel, right? We did the Austin house. I did the Austin house from California. It's a whole other podcast, whole other virtual thing, right? So a head to toe complete house remodel from Northern California for the Austin house. And now in Austin doing same complete head to toe remodel on the Phoenix house. And, a lot of the same methods actually used, right? That I use for the stores. It's a lot of FaceTiming. It's a lot of, the contractor walking around showing various rooms and whatnot. And I love it. And I've taken on a couple of design jobs on the side since we moved here to Austin for various clients, one of them being another head to toe house remodel, floor to ceiling. But this one I was here in person to do live and on, in the field, so to speak. So I think more of that. It feeds my creative passion, my designer passion, my desire to grow and build something, and I love the idea of the passive income of short-term rentals. I love the investment opportunity, that the equity of property ownership brings. So love all of it.
That's great. Tell me, we talked a lot about technology. Tell me, what is your go-to piece of software or app on your phone? What is your go-to that you can't live without?
I think on my phone. So it would be a toss-up between, we didn't talk about Slack. We do use Slack for messaging with my staff, which that is on my phone. So, my staff is able to message me any time of day, pretty immediately. And then I love the fact that in Slack, we can keep everything organized. So, we have, it's easy to refer back, right? If it's a message about an online order, if it's messaging about inventory, it's messaging from one particular store, whatever. Text messaging, a lot of text back and forth for outside of the retail world, from various contractors and subs, are constantly messaging me while working on these remote remodels. And then on the phone, I would say FaceTime, because again, I'm using that a lot. So I know you asked for one, sorry.
Well, no, I mean, maybe we'll just lump them together. All communication tools, right? I mean, you're adamant, you have to have good organized communication is what you're looking for ultimately at the end of the day. That's great.
Without communication, you can't be remote, right? So
yeah, exactly. All right. So last question. So if you could give yourself one talent that you currently don't have, what would it be?
To be able to sing.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. That's,
I
yes, I know
love
you.
music. I love singing. I just suck at it, but I love it. I sing in the shower and I
I don't
enjoy
think
my
you
own
do.
voice.
I don't think you do. Yes, no, I don't think you do. But yes, you've brought that up many times, and I think it's a, phenomenal, to be able to sing, and I think it'd be great. So, you got to figure out where you can fit that in at some point.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely on my
Yeah.
bucket list. And now being in Austin, right? We're surrounded by live music all the time. And it just like feeds my
All the
soul.
time.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yes. All right. This has been a great episode filled with phenomenal tips, Jenny. It has been a pleasure to have you on. Obviously, I'll see you a
You're
little later.
welcome.
Give you a big hug and a kiss to say thank you. It's taken a long time to get you on. Well worth it. And I think that everybody out there who's in the omni-channel world in retail is learning a lot. I mean, some people even coming in maybe who are interested in real estate or, looking at and saying, wow, I didn't, short-term rentals. Let me look at that. So great piece of information all the way around. Take a minute and tell the audience how they can find out about your stores, as well as maybe where they can reach you on, social media as well.
Okay, let's see. So we are, the store is on Instagram at shop_cupcake. I am at Jenny Romeyn. Facebook, the store is Shop Cupcake, and you can email me or the stores either at hello@shopcupcake.com.
Great. Well, that's phenomenal. Appreciate you doing that. People should reach out. Go check out the online store. Maybe sign up for an email or an SMS. See how that all works. All of those things that Jenny told us. So thank you again, and I will see you a little later for dinner. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks for having
All right.
me.
That brings us to the end of another phenomenal episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. Don't forget to check out our other past episodes, some really good tips from other entrepreneurs and clients that have been on the show. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updates on new episodes. Check us out on LinkedIn and review us wherever you listen to your podcast. As always, if you need help with your email and SMS marketing, you can always reach out to us at hello@SKUagency.com. Mention the podcast and we'll hook you up with a free audit worth $850. Thank you.
This is just the beginning.
If you enjoyed this episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube or drop us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you very much.